Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Rowe. We're looking in Geometry Part A. This is Lesson 5, and we're going to talk about parallel lines cut by a transversal. So I gave you the definition of a transversal in the lesson content. So now we're going to look at specifically what happens when we have parallel lines in that transversal. So here is what we've got. We've got a set of parallel lines. So, you know, parallel lines never intersect, and we have a transversal. And recall a transversal is just a line that intersects two other lines, two or more other lines, technically. And we've got these 8 angles that are formed when this happens. So now let's talk about those 8 angles. We've got 2 types of angles here. We've got exterior angles. Now, if we think about this as inside and outside, inside is between the parallel lines, outside is outside of that parallel line. So exterior or outside the parallel lines. So that would be angles 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's 4 of those angles. Then we have the interior angles. Well, the interior angles are between those 2 parallel lines. So it's in between here. That would be angles 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that we have established what interior and exterior is, because we're going to use those terms quite a bit, let's take a look at specific angles that are formed when parallel lines are cut by a transversal. So the most important ones, because it has a postulate to go with it, are corresponding angles. So same picture. Corresponding angles are in the same location on different lines. Now here's how I like to explain this. Think of this line as having 4 sections: top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Same thing here: top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. So corresponding angles: top left, top left, top right, top right. And so here's the postulate that goes with it. Corresponding angles postulate says that if a transversal intersects 2 parallel lines, then the corresponding angles are congruent. So let's take a look. So angle 1 is in the top left, so its corresponding angle would be right here in the top left of the second line. And according to this postulate, these angles are congruent. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. Angle 2, it's in the top left. Well, it's going to correspond with the top left of the second line. That's angle 8. And again, those angles are congruent. And then we have 5 with 3 right here. Those are going to be congruent. And finally 6 with 4, and those are congruent. So that's the corresponding angles. Now let's take a look at alternate interior angles. So again, these are inside and between the 2 lines. So we've got our parallel lines here. Alternate interior angles are on opposite sides of the transversal on different lines. So if this is an interior angle, then its alternate interior angle would be on the other side of the transversal on a different line. So those 2 angles, opposite sides of the transversal. Same thing here. This angle, opposite side of the transversal, same or different line. So those are the alternate interior angles. And this has a theorem to go with it. The alternate interior angle theorem says that if a transversal intersects 2 parallel lines, then the alternate interior angles are congruent. So 5, it's this location, opposite side on a different line. So it's going to go right there. And those are going to be congruent. Those are going to be the same. 6 and 7, and those are going to be the same. So those are the alternate interior angles. All right, our next one. Well, if there's alternate interior, well, guess what? There's also alternate exterior angles. So here's our picture again. So alternate exterior angles are again on opposite sides of the transversal on different lines. So first of all, it has to be an exterior angle. So if this is my first angle right here, then the alternate exterior would have to be on the opposite side. Also an exterior angle, so it would have to be out here. And again, we have a theorem to go with this. It says if a transversal intersects two parallel lines, then the alternate exterior angles are congruent. So we got angle 1 with angle 4. Those are alternate exterior angles. They are congruent. Then we have 2 and 3. Those are alternate exterior angles, and they are also congruent. All right, so we got same side interior now. So we looked at some things that were congruent to each other. Well, same side interior are a little bit different. So first of all, they're same side. So they're on the same side of the transversal. So if this is my interior angle, the same side to go with it. And sometimes these are called consecutive interior angles. Same side is a better description, but they're usually called consecutive. So these would be the consecutive or same side interior angles. And the theorem for these say, or for these pairs say, that if we have same side interior angles, then they are supplementary. So if we have a transversal that intersects two parallel lines, then the same side interior angles are supplementary. So this angle plus this angle is going to equal 180. So angle 5 and angle 7 are the same side interior. And if we add those two angles together, we're going to get 180 degrees. 6 and 8, again, same side interior. And again, they're going to equal 180 degrees. So same side interior angles are supplementary. You know, and just like the other, if there's a same side interior, there's a same side exterior. And so here's our picture again, same side exterior angles are on the same side of the transversal. So this would be one angle. Same side exterior would have to be this other angle on the opposite side of the parallel line that's on the same side. And so again, we've got a theorem. The transversal intersects two parallel lines, and the same side exterior angles are also supplementary. So angle 1 and angle 3, if we add those two together, we're going to get 180 degrees. Angle 2 and angle 4, if we add those together, we're going to get 180. So same sides, interior and exterior equal 180. All the rest that we looked at, the corresponding, the alternate interior, alternate exterior, those were all congruent. Now we have some other relationships that we're going to talk about, and I'm just going to kind of briefly talk about those. We do still have vertical angles here. So these lines across, or these angles across from each other are going to be vertical angles. They're going to be congruent. And when we look at our example, we'll look at another relationship that still exists. So here's our example. We've got our parallel lines, and we're going to be given that the measure of angle 1 is 50 degrees. So remember, we were using this angle right here as angle 1. It is 50 degrees. Just knowing that and those relationships that we just talked about, we can name the other 7 angles. So I'm going to go back to corresponding angles. Well, corresponding angles are congruent. So 1 corresponds to this angle right here. And so with corresponding angles, they're congruent. So that angle will also be 50 degrees. Now I'm going to talk about alternate exterior angles. So we're using our given right here, which is alternate, which is that angle 1 was 50. So an alternate exterior angle would be this angle right here. And the alternate exterior angle is congruent. So that one's also 50 degrees. So I'm going to go back to corresponding angles now. This angle corresponds to this angle. We also have an alternate interior angle because this angle is alternate interior with this one. Either rule lets me know that that angle 6, is 50 degrees. So just knowing one angle, we've already gotten 4. So now we're going to use another relationship that we can recognize here from something we talked about earlier, which is a linear pair. A linear pair has a sum of 180 degrees. So this angle, angle 1, we're always going to go back to our given, is a linear pair with this angle and this angle. Well, I'm going to focus on this angle first. And if we add those two angles together, angle 1 and angle 2, we should get 180 degrees. So the measure of angle 2 would be the difference of 180 and the measure of angle 1. So in this case, it's 180 minus 50, which is 130 degrees. So angle 2 is 130 degrees. So knowing that, and going back to corresponding angles, you get angle 8. Angle 8 is going to be 130 degrees. Going back to this angle again, we can get angle 3, alternate exterior angle. It's also going to be 130 degrees. And then I can use, just like I did the last time, I can use either a corresponding angle. 3 will correspond with this angle, and 8 is the alternate interior angle for that. We could also use the fact that these two are consecutive interior angles or same side interior angles to get the same answer. But angle 5 is going to be 130 degrees. So just knowing one angle and knowing the lines are parallel and we have a transversal, we can get the rest of the angles. And we're going to use this in the lesson algebraically to determine some values for x's and some of the angle values. So I hope this helps you understand parallel lines and transversal and the angles formed. If you're struggling to understand the concept, please let me know in a teacher message or make an appointment for a help session.